Considering just how many people are gaming or making like video essays on similar media on YouTube, it's surprisingly difficult to find YouTube channels run by gamers from the queer community. Even more difficult to find those that like focus on that queer perspective. So when I find one that does that to at least some extent, I get excited. And that's what Queer Catch of the Month is all about. And that's why I'm highlighting transparency this month. Reason enough to enjoy this channel is its logo, which speaks to its like full @name, which is Transparency Boo. It is an adorable little ghost face and I love it. The whole description of the channel is just a little ghost. Again, how could you not love this channel from the jump? It currently has a bit over 13,000 subscribers and they published 41 videos, all of which averaging somewhere around 30 minutes each. They've been around since November of 2019, starting with an absolute punch of a video in sexuality, gender, and Kojima productions. And the name of the channel speaks to its perspective, one that I find especially valuable. 2 powerful trans women run the channel, which features video essays primarily about games, but also touching upon other media from time to time. Getting game and media criticism right is a really challenging thing to do, but Transparency does it really well. As I mentioned, they started extremely strong breaking down Kojima productions. All right, so where was I? Kojima productions. Kojima's games often contain stark contrasts between male and female representation, to put it lightly. Many of Kojima's games are incredibly well rated across the board, and often don't really put a lot of weight on the representation issues. Some of the reviews even tend to skim over that representation problem, or specifically the problem with the way that women are portrayed, which is bad. So Transparency's perspective and insertion into the discussion is really a welcome one. I see a lot of depth and thoughtfulness in Transparency's analysis of the treatment of women in Kojima's games. Although perspective definitely brings bias, I see a special level of care to address different perspectives throughout. Transparency also released another video even where they talked about sort of the objective video, the objective review of games, or objective sort of video essay and analysis about games, and they definitely understand, like, all of this is subjective. And then further, when they talked about the reviewer brain, which is a great watch, they talk about basically the fact that, you know, there's only so much you can do. There's only so many caveats, and only some of them are even useful for analysis. There's also kind of an academic quality to their discussion and analysis, bringing theoretical frameworks into view when they're talking about trans issues or women's issues. And this is energy that Transparency brings to each of its videos. Whether they're talking about the trials and tribulations of Dixie Kong, or a video about how someone might find their true self in cyberspace. They also always use a mix of media. It's very cool. Some like live video, some recorded video, animation, all kinds of stuff gets in there, and it's great. And they often bring the conversation back to the real world with statistics and, you know, helpful graphs and tables. Separately, and really importantly for someone like me, is although they're serious, which they are in a lot of the videos, there's a lot of seriousness with which they take serious issues. There's also always cheekiness, there's always funniness. Their videos are funny. And this combination of elements makes for a really excellent queer perspective channel with really cool content. I also personally love that they always make sure to include something that is, you know, about the trans lens, and in some cases explicitly so. There's a section of a video potentially that has trans lens as the title, for example with the Celeste video. I think Transparency as a channel is a great example of why queer voices and having more of them in the discussion around gaming and other media associated is really just such a valuable addition to discussion and criticism of games. Their perspectives as trans women enable takeaways that I don't think could really introduce themselves organically otherwise. Even as a member of the trans community, as a genderqueer person, I know that my scope, my view is fairly limited. I definitely don't see the whole picture for the queer community. So not only is it informative, it's also a privilege to hear from trans women on this stuff, the stuff that I also super care about. And I think this becomes especially evident when they talk about stuff that's specific to trans issues or games or media that have trans elements really associated with them, especially when people are putting them in their games without being trans themselves, perhaps. Either way, these women through the Transparency channel are bringing something really special to YouTube. Long story short, you should subscribe to Transparency if that's not entirely clear. It is a great channel with a cool as heck perspective. As I continue to make deep dives on my Good Little Diver channel, Transparency's approach is inspiring. And their videos I will refer to regularly to remind myself of what a good video essay looks like. Specifically, I can definitely see myself looking back at the Reviewer Brain video. I'm sure I'm not alone, but it definitely feels like a call out. So again, my call is for you to subscribe to Transparency. I recommend you watch whatever video on their channel that you find particularly interesting or inspiring. But I'll take a second to recommend one that really speaks to me. It's called Queer Fantasy: Finding Your True Self in Cyberspace. It's personal and real and very relatable, especially if you're a queer person. But also you should watch the transphobia video on J.K. Rowling and other gender critical idiots like her. And be sure to support their work, however you can. And one way is through their Patreon, which I also linked in the description. Well, that's all for Queer Catch of the Month for the month of May in 2023. If you know of creators that are doing really cool queer stuff, kind of like Transparency is doing, please let me know in the comments. I really want to know. I want to make more videos like this, at least every month. So with all that said, until we dive again, thank you for watching and see you soon.